Porsche extended an invitation to test drive the future Macan EV, the electric SUV that will serve as the company's second contemporary electric vehicle. Porsche emphasized that these were prototype cars without final suspension, steering, or brake calibration, so there's not much we can tell about how it rides and drives. Although our computed result isn't comparable with our range test of other EVs for reasons we'll describe, this early journey was more of a range demonstration. The prototype vehicles we experienced were still heavily covered in camouflage. However, it was really simple, with no obtrusive features that might increase aerodynamic drag, allowing us to get a true picture of the Macan EV's appearance. The dark finish and rounded contour of the new Macan EV give it the appearance of being smaller than it is. Its wheelbase is actually noticeably longer, despite the lack of official numbers. This is to provide space for the 90 kilowatt-hours of usable energy that the roughly 100 kWh underfloor battery supplies. What also immediately stands out is that the Macan EV's daytime running lights are really what normally qualify as headlights on a Porsche. In the front fascia, the headlamps are positioned vertically, somewhat lower. The Pirelli Scorpion MS Elect all-season tires and wheels, measuring 235/55/20 in the front and 285/45/20 in the rear on the base model, are another feature that Porsche is unable to conceal. Porsche has not yet disclosed the trim designations for the top model, but it is said to be equipped with Michelin Pilot Sport all-season for tires, which are 255/40/22 up front and 295/35/22 out back. Both designs include 5 small triangular openings, but the 22S machined surface, evocative of Fuchs-style wheels, is made possible by their somewhat more protuberant topography than the base wheels, which are shamelessly smooth. Porsche has been far more open about the technical specifications of the EV drive system. All-wheel drive Macan EV's the reported rear drive model is doubtful for the US market, are powered by 2 permanent magnet synchronous AC motors. In contrast to the Taycan sedan, which has a 2-speed rear transmission, the Macan EV's single-speed direct drive gearbox powers both ends. Although the base power and torque outputs are unknown, Porsche has verified that the top model's maximum output is 603 horsepower and 737 pound-feet of torque. However, because Porsche is implementing a new EV power determination standard created by the UN, those figures could alter. It is also known that the Macan EV, like the Taycan, would have an 800-volt electrical design. It'll be able to pull electricity at a peak rate of 270 kilowatts and finally refill its battery from 10 to 80% in just 22 minutes at a suitably equipped DC fast charge station, of course. It also has a large regenerative braking potential of up to 240 kilowatts or 0.4 gram of deceleration without using the brake pads or rotors, thanks to the 800-volt architecture. However, Porsche has maintained its Taycan stance, so this level of deceleration is never expressed in a one-pedal driving mode. The computer determines whether the driver wants to apply the friction or regenerative brakes, and all brake activation is done through the brake pedal. The only options available to the driver when using the lift throttle are a coasting or sailing mode and a light region setting, which essentially simulates the familiar sensation of engine braking in a gas-powered vehicle. Porsche made an effort to meet our needs for our range run by designing an out and back course that began at the eastern border of the Los Angeles Basin and continued into the desert. Since we could run at any speed, we decided to go at 75 miles per hour, just like we do in all of our official testing. However, since we schedule our runs during periods with light traffic, our range tests are never quite that easy. That's quite simple to do close to our headquarters in Ann Arbor, Michigan, but extremely challenging in Southern California. Michigan doesn't have many hills either, but getting out of the LAA Basin always involves ascending a grade, no matter which way you go. The terrain wasn't what we were used to, but in the out and back arrangement we ran, at least every uphill would turn into a descent. Our average pace ultimately dropped to 63 miles per hour due to traffic, even though we managed to run at 75 miles per hour for 3/4 of the journey. Our base model Macan had 30 miles and 11% battery left after traveling 251.6 miles, which does at least correspond to our typical objective of depleting to about 10% and then performing a regression. A base Macan EV achieved 280 miles when we drove that way for our driving scenario, but there are a lot of caveats. Prototype vehicle, low average speed from traffic, and steep climbs. Considering that the Taycan famously surpassed what turned out to be fairly conservative EPA statistics, it's difficult to predict what this means for an eventual EPA range rating for the Macan EV. This time, Porsche seems more prepared, to be honest, so that purchasers of Macans won't be turned off by the car's poor EPA ratings. However, Porsche still tends to err on the side of caution. We frequently beat the company's stated quarter-mile and 60 mph marks. Ultimately, this was a respectable performance for the Macan EV, and given the traffic we experienced, it is a reasonable outcome for future owners traveling from a large metropolis like Los Angeles. We suggested that our travels to San Francisco, Las Vegas, or Phoenix would be one-stop shops, similar to how gasoline-powered cars travel more than halfway there.